Welcome back to the channel on this, pretty gray and snowy day, but it's beautiful outside. A bit cold. I've been out in it already this morning. Listen, I had a young man who commented on my channel when I asked if anybody wanted to know anything, and what he said he was interested in is knowing more about my experiences here in Switzerland. That's a long video, but you know what? We'll give it a try. Listen, I arrived here over 25 years ago on a cold, very cold 2nd of January 1996 in Geneva. I remember arriving there. It was late at night, and into an apartment without any kind of furniture. we hadn't even moved in yet. We just moved into the apartment. So at the time when I was married, we slept on the hardwood floor. Beautiful apartment, and it was very quickly. And the next day, we went and bought a folding out couch for a temporary bed situation until our furniture arrived. But it was a special experience. I remember at that time there was no internet to speak of, or if there was some, it was all analog. I guess there were some. I do remember seeing it a couple of years later. It was analog internet, and didn't have a cell phone. And for the first 7 months I was here, I took an intensive French speaking and writing course, primarily speaking, at a school inside Geneva. It was a great experience, a little bit new. It was very new for me, the city, especially the city life. Getting around, learning the bus. At the very beginning, I did a lot of walking. I walked all over Geneva, and until little by little, I got more comfortable with the bus. I remember that first morning, really didn't have a whole lot to eat, and my wife at the time, she had gone to work. And so I believe she had gone to work that morning, or maybe took us a couple of days. Anyway, we got the couch that day. So it took us a couple. We got some groceries. Nice little apartment in Geneva, inside of a villa, which is basically a big house. And I remember after that going out little by little, finding my way around, going out to a grocery store, coming back, on a daily basis, or going out somewhere, seeing something, coming back, trying not to get lost in Geneva. That's the worst thing. I didn't have a map, and didn't have GPS on a phone, didn't have a phone even. But little by little, I got used to it, and I started really making my way around in Geneva. And it's a beautiful city, actually. I'm not a big fan of it now, but it was a beautiful city, and getting to know it was very nice. And it was fun. It's a lot to see there. It's a big lake there. We call it Lac Léman or Genfessy, and a lot of English people call it Lake Geneva. But it's a very beautiful lake, very cold, with a big, beautiful water fountain spout down at the lake. A lot of international organizations there within the UN at the time. Matter of fact, she still works there. My former wife still works there for the United Nations. And so that first year, we were getting to know the city. I remember I took a language courses, and then I got a job at a language school, and I was teaching English as a second language for a while, and I did that for maybe about a year, I guess. And then my wife we got pregnant, and she got pregnant, and so with my son Nicholas. And that first year, it was a fantastic time. I really enjoyed that time. And what we did, we decided that we didn't want to live in the city where we were living because of pollution and noise, this kind of stuff, and it was quite small. So we began looking for a place to live and to move to. And we found a small village above Nyon, which is a village along the lake, a Roman village along the lake. And above it on the Jura is a village called Saint-Sergue. And up there we found an apartment in a big house, big building. We were on the 3rd and 4th floor, and in the end, we ended up buying our apartment. They offered to sell it for a really good price, so we negotiated and we ended up buying it. And we lived there for 16 years, in fact, and raised 2 children there until life things happen, and relationship went sour, and so I moved to where I'm at now. Well, I moved away. I moved north. But during that time, there's lots of things that going on in Switzerland. Lots of beautiful things to see, lots of hiking. I remember experience we went to, she and I, the first summer. One thing I'll tell you, when we first got here, it was so foggy, we couldn't see the mountains at all for months and months and months. And I remember finally, after 3 months, we were able to see the mountain for the first time. And we had driven up and up on the Jura and actually saw what we call, it looked like the soup. You couldn't see in it, but you could see the Alps above it, in the foreground from the Jura. And then we did visit the Alps, that kind of stuff. We did some skiing and that kind of stuff. We were a little big into skiing and stuff. So we had this old Ford Granada from her father, and we just went to the mountains until that thing gave up, But yeah, we had a great time. It was a really nice time. This was all before she had gotten pregnant, and did a lot of traveling around. I remember we went to Kandersteg. No, not Kandersteg. Went to Grindelwald and went camping there during that summer. And yeah, it was a pretty bad experience. In fact, that first summer going camping there. We get there, and I want to go. I want to get a topographic map, and I remember going to this little shop and finding a topographic map. I was just looking at it, and a man just comes out of nowhere, takes it from me, and folds it back up and puts it back on the shelf and just walks away. So we leave out of there like, what the heck's going on, So then we go to what it's called. It's basically a canyon. And you can hike up the canyon along this river. It's a beautiful place. And it was right at the end of the day. And so we went back that way, because I was a little bit like frustrated. This is actually, we actually did it for a day of hiking, actually, along the very famous wall that I can't remember the name of it now. They made a movie there. They made a movie with Clint Eastwood there. I can't remember. Anyway, it's where the Jungfrau Joch is at, and the Eiger. That's where it's at. You're at the foot of the Eiger. But we did some hiking around that area there. It was very beautiful. The views were fantastic. Then at the end of the day, we went to this place to get information about this canyon to go hiking up for the next day. And they had already closed, but the lady was there behind the glass, and she was doing something. And I politely asked her if she could give me some information, and she didn't listen to me. I mean, she was like, just kept her head down. And I said, "Excuse me, I just like to have information." She threw this whole thing of stuff to me, So that first experience with Switzerland, I mean, it was really just a bit shocking. And then we get back to our campground where, when we arrived there that morning, the owner was like, "Yeah, choose whatever spot you want." And I, being an experienced camper, I put our little, you had a Eureka tent. I put it up in a good spot where it would have shade. It wouldn't be out exposed into the sun. And then when we get back, my tent's gone, and there's this caravan there from Germany. And I'm like, "What the heck?" And they're like, you go talk to they just sort of ducked their head, and they sort of pointed towards the main house where the owner was at. And I went there, and I asked him about it. He comes out, and he's this little bitty short German guy, Swiss German guy, and he's on this balcony, and he's, I tell you, I was not very happy, but I managed to control not smacking him around a little bit, because at that time I was 28 years old, and just fresh out of 10 years in the Army, and I was not very appreciative of someone disrespecting me. And I was very polite to him. And then he said, "Listen, if you don't like it, you take your," he said, "these people have been coming here for 21 years. That's the spot they always take. If I don't like it, I can get my tent and get out of there." So I went down, and they pointed out to me where my tent was at. I got to it. They had actually moved my tent. This family did, folded our tent up, and we left. And we actually drove out of Grindelwald and went to this place, which was quite high up, and said, "Well, let's eat something before we leave," And so we stopped at this restaurant, and we were eating our dinner, and the owner came around and says, "How's your day? How have you enjoyed being in Grindelwald?" And we were like, "Not very good." And I explained to him the situation. He said, "Listen, outside here, this is my land outside the restaurant. There's an area there with a fire pit. You can camp right there tonight, and you can camp there for as long as you want to. And I'm sorry about what happened. So we camped there that night. He was very nice. We actually had breakfast next morning, and he was very, very polite. This guy, I always recommend that restaurant to everybody afterwards, and just very polite. But we went ahead and came back to Geneva and didn't stay a second night like we had planned, and just felt like, just felt really just, yeah, wasn't very positive feeling about Switzerland at that moment. It was very, it lived up to all of the rumors, that it was very rude and stuff. And I'll be honest with you, the Swiss can be very rude. Unlike the French, who are much more rude when it comes to tourism and stuff like that. The Swiss aren't nearly as rude as they are. But, that changed with time, because as we picked, and we spoke 3 languages. We spoke English, French, and German. And but it changed with time. It changed with time of getting to know the place, how to deal with people. The Swiss people can be very cold, can be very, very much into their own little communities, their own little cliques, And so I've been here 25 years, and I have a handful of friends. Matter of fact, I have only, a very handful of friends here. And I have Swiss friends here, but I've had lots of foreign friends here also, because you're sort of forced to be in an international community when you're an international here, But 10 years ago, after that experience of growing up and in the Swiss Romanch area, which I'm still in, I'm just north. I'm near Freiburg now, instead of being south near Geneva. I avoid Geneva like the plague, because it's just too fast, too rude, and too many people. But at one time, I really enjoyed being in Geneva. I enjoyed that lifestyle there. It was very nice, very metropolitan. Very quaint, but at the same time, it was very nice. Switzerland's a very expensive place. Getting used to just the price of everything. You pay for a small bottle of, let's say, a water, you'll spend 2 francs to 3 francs, depends. We're talking about 33 ounces. So 250 milliliters, I think, is what it is. But it depends on what you're doing and how you're doing it here. Now, the outdoor experiences here have been fantastic, from rafting to climbing to skiing to cross-country skiing to everything you can imagine in the mountains has been fantastic here. It's just a wonderful place. I've done lots of camping here, lots of wild camping. You're not necessarily supposed to do a lot of wild camping here, but I know so many areas to do it. We raise our kids here. They get a really good education here. The educational system, the public education system, depends on where you're at, is not very good, but the private education system is very, very good here. We got our kids out of the public system as quick as possible once we realized that they were not only being bullied by the students, but by teachers, And a lot of the teachers aren't even Swiss. A lot of them are international in the Canton of Vaud area. And Canton of Vaud is like one of the worst areas when it comes to education, sadly, But and it's just because a lot of the teachers aren't up to the same qualifications or the same characters you'd see in a lot of other places that are much more Swiss, I would say. So we really enjoyed Saint-Sergue. It was a wonderful place. But before we got there, I remember we went on vacation to Crete in 1998, the summer. The summer where, if it comes to international football or soccer, it was the summer of death for the U.S. team, because they were actually in the worst group. They were the group of death. They were in a group with every former enemy they've ever had: Yugoslavia, Iran, and Germany in the same group. So they got their butt kicked. But we were in Crete, and I loved it there. It was just a fantastic place to go visit. Lots of history, lots of mythology, and the beaches are fantastic. I did some scuba diving while I was there, and just we enjoyed ourselves. And my wife was actually 5 or 6 months pregnant at that time, so. But she didn't. She got out. The heat was a little bit tough on her, but we had nice air conditioned rooms. It wasn't 5-star, but you know what? We were there just to enjoy a break, see something different, do something different. I remember the food was fantastic, by the way. And I remember a situation where as you're walking down the street near the restaurants, they have like these punters who come out, and they're trying to get you to come in their restaurant, and they actually will grab you. And this guy grabbed my wife, and I remember grabbing him. And we got a free meal out of it. Because it wasn't very nice of him grabbing a hold of her, especially pregnant. I was very, very, I pulled security 24/7 on her, because she's not only her, but also there's a baby in there, But besides that, it was a fantastic. We rented a little small Panda, pitched up. We were actually stopped in the middle of the road one day, and on this dirt road, by this man and his car had broken down and overheated, and because it was 53 degrees there, I'm not joking you. And he basically just, there was no asking. It was basically just, he stuffed his wife into our car. She's a short little round woman with two big bags of stuff going with her, and one of them happened to be, two of them happened to be bags of oranges, by the way, which were fantastic. But they spoiled very quickly in the heat, you know. But we drove her down to, we drove her to the harbor, and I think it was Kanya. And there she grabbed the boat to Athens to see her family. But they were very nice people. But it was sort of funny, you know. He sort of just jumped out in the middle of the street and stopped us, you know. But we had no problem. We were pretty relaxed people when it comes to a lot of these kind of things. And then lots of history there, especially the history of the myths, the mythics and the mythic gods. There you have the birthplace of Zeus, and you have the mountain. Where he was born, the cave. We visited all that kind of stuff, and just a blast there. Blast there. I mean, it was one of the things I remember. One of the museums, they had these displays of the German weaponry from the battle, the British weaponry from the battle. So the Germans had grenade launchers and machine guns and all this kind of stuff. The British had grenade launchers, and then you had one for the Cretan people, and it was basically pitchforks and rocks. It was so funny, but they defended themselves, But we had a blast there, and saw some really nice things, and the people were very friendly. I remember I had a pair of hiking shoes I bought in Geneva for the trip, and I put them in the back of the car, and then I went to go pull them out, and when I picked them up, like the soles completely just sort of fell off of them from the heat. They had baked in the back of the car. It was too funny. But anyway, I still have those shoes, I believe, somewhere, or I had them for a long time. But anyway, so we got back and moved and lived in Sancerre for 16 years. And just had a blast there. I mean, we had a really nice apartment up in. It felt like more like a house. Lots of great Christmases there. The snow. I remember that first winter, we had 3 meters of snow, up to 5 meters of snow, and we couldn't even see off our terrace, because there's so much snow and we were on top of the building. But and then as my kids got older, they got into school, and my son, I got him into scouting, and we had a great time for about 10 and a half years of scouting. Actually, he did his entire career of scouting through the same troop and crew. Actually, he got his Eagle Scout, and then about 10 and a half, 11 years ago, there was a divide in the family, and I moved north. Okay, and as I moved north, I'm always an avid camper, a lot of bushcraft. I did a lot of shooting and that kind of stuff, especially combat shooting, and did a lot of instructing and teaching. Did a lot of traveling around with that also. Even in fitness, where I traveled to Mallorca and to train boot camp there, and I was doing it every morning in Geneva, or a couple times a week during Geneva. I was giving classes. But and I worked in everything from surplus to outdoor equipment, that kind of stuff. That's my primary job I've been doing for all these years here after I was a teacher. And yeah, I've always loved that. So that's what I'm doing now, primarily with my own business, HelvetiaBushcraft.ch. I'm selling online a lot more, mostly surplus stuff right now, because building the business. But anyway, but yeah, so Switzerland has a lot going for it. It's a beautiful country. A lot of people ask me, why are you staying in Switzerland? Why don't you go back to the United States? And the main reason is because my kids are here in Europe. My son's in Germany, and he's studying history in Würzburg, which is a city from where his mother's from, and my daughter's in Southampton studying criminal psychology. And so I'm closer to them. They're my family. So, and most of my friends are here now. I mean, I could move back to the States, but it'd be starting all over again. And I'm 53 years old. I'm no longer a young kid. Now, if I was 30, yeah, I would go back. And matter of fact, gone back in the Army. I got out of the Army to come here to start a family. So to follow my wife with her job, because she works for the United Nations. And yeah, so I mean, it's been a great experience, Switzerland has, and I have nothing over negative to say about it. Like I said, it's actually a great country, and once you get to know the people, if you are able to get to know them, it actually is pretty good. It's not easy meeting Swiss, though. You have to have a reason for that. And one of the best ways I suggest you do is get into clubs and stuff, either the Swiss Alpine Club or whatever, sports clubs or whatever. Get to the gym, go CrossFit or something like that. You'll meet Swiss that way, and you can start building those relationships, even through some work. It's not always easy through your work building relationships, though, but because for me, it's work, But besides that, yeah, you can build relationships outside of it in the outside, like I said, through the gym, through clubs, through sports activities like I'm in right now, outdoor stuff, and that's some of the best ways actually to meet people. But anyway, so that's it. I'm still here, still fighting, still dreaming the dream, and fighting the situation. But with time, you make it work. I've been here for over 25 years. I don't regret being here. I love my kids. I love my family, and I actually do love Switzerland. If I'm offered one day a Swiss nationality, I will take it, and have a dual nationality, American and Swiss. And people ask me, will you give up your American citizenship? Never. I would never give up my American citizenship. I'm an American through and through. I serve my country, and I'll continue serving my country. But like I said, and the but's not because of that. The but is that if I'm offered a dual citizenship, I will take it, because it makes life a little bit easier while you're here. And it takes a lot of stuff. When I got my permit, you had to actually take a test, and you had to study. You had to know some things. So and prove that you have a history here, and that you have friends here, and that you have a life here, that you're not here just to profit from the system, So, but the Swiss system is actually quite good. It's a good system, and it's a very wealthy country, but also a very humble country, And the people are very, very friendly. My friends are farmers. My friends are educators. My friends, are all the above, So, but we just find those things in common. So, anyway, listen. If you have any other questions about Switzerland, let me know. The only negative thing about Switzerland is that it has such a great cheese and great chocolate that you gain weight. So I've gained probably 30 kilos since I've been in this country from 25 years. And it's a battle getting it off. But anyway, it's part of life here. So listen, I want to thank you for coming to the channel. And I appreciate it if you like, subscribe, share, and leave any comments you want to. And if you have any other questions, please let me know about anything with Switzerland. So I hope I was able to answer some of your questions and give you an idea about what it's like here. And by the way, the Swiss do eat fondue even in the summertime. I don't know how they manage it, but they do. Take care of yourselves. Have yourselves a good day. Goodbye.